Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS. I am Pratik, your faculty for daily news analysis. Students, in today's DNA session, we are going to focus on three topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. So let me quickly take you through the topics that we'll be discussing in today's DNA session. The first article talks about the Manipur crisis. The title suggests as this topic is talking about the reasons for the Manipur crisis, or you can relate this topic from internal security perspective. But in this article, understand about the constitutional provisions, right, that were given for the state of Manipur and how the dilution or how the implementation affected the state of Manipur, leading to crisis in the state, right? So we'll focus more on the constitutional dimension. The second article we have taken from Indian Express page number 12 as well as Hindu page number 1. I have clubbed both the articles. It talks about the power of the state to regulate industrial alcohol, which means there was a dispute as in who should regulate the industrial alcohol, and the Supreme Court has given a judgment stating that the states have the power. The third article talks about the Kala Azar and how India has contributed or how India is contributing in ensuring that the cases of Kala Azar in a country is decreasing or going down. So these are the three topics that we'll be discussing today. Make sure you're fresh, make sure you have pen and paper to jot down the points, and make sure that you understand all the three topics. I'll make sure that I'll explain such a way that you understand all the three topics. Make sure you revise all these three topics, right? So let's get started with the first topic. What is the title? The Manipur crisis, the issue of managing diversity, right? So as I told you, we'll be understanding about the Manipur crisis, the reasons behind the Manipur crisis. Then we'll discuss the constitutional provision relating to the state of Manipur and different concepts such as asymmetrical federalism, etc. And you can mark this for GS paper 2 mains. In GS paper 2, we have functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. We'll understand what is federal structure. See, there's a question asked in the year 2017. What is the question? The northeastern region of India has been infested with insurgency for a very long time. Analyze the major reasons for the survival of armed insurgency in this region, right? So one of the dimension that you can explore or mention to write answer of this question is the topic that we'll be discussing today, right? So what is the context? We know that the violence in the state of Manipur is increasing. This escalating violence in the state of Manipur, and this escalating violence, it raises a question with respect to the constitutional machinery or failure of constitutional machinery. What does it mean? Which means that the administration of the state is failing to manage the conflict in the state of Manipur. The administration of the state is broken. That's the reason the violence is escalating. This is the context. Let us try to understand the Manipur violence and the reasons behind it before we understand the reasons why Manipur is still being infested with violence or ethnic violence. See, if we talk about the ethnic composition in Manipur, the Metis, who constitute 65% of the population, they are the people who are majority, but these 65% of the people, they live in only 10% of the land in Manipur. 65% people are living in 10% of land in Manipur. The other, that is the other 34 recognized tribes such as Metis, such as Kukis and Nagas, right? So they occupy 90% of the land. So you see 65% of people are living in only 10% land. The remaining 35% people are living in 90% of the surrounding hills. Metis live in the plain region. The other 34 tribal groups, they live in the hilly regions. Now, the reason why the violence started in the state of Manipur is because the Metis demanded for the status of scheduled tribe, ST tribe. See, the Metis were a scheduled tribe. But the moment Manipur was integrated into the Union of India, they lost the status of ST. Who? The Metis. Please make sure that you are focusing on each and every word. These articles are not easy to understand. So focus on each and every word. So they were enjoying the ST status before 1949, but the moment they integrated into the Union of India, they lost the ST status. Now you might ask or wonder, what is the benefit or advantage of having a ST status or scheduled tribe status? See, when any community is accorded the ST status, scheduled tribe status, the government gives them fund to protect their culture, language, art form, right? Also, the scheduled tribe people have the right to prevent the transfer of tribal land to non-tribals, which means the land cannot be transferred to non-tribals. Then they can also claim their rights on the natural resources like minerals. So these are the benefits a community gets when it gets the status of ST. That's the reason Metis are demanding ST status. Why? Because the population of Metis is decreasing. So if you see this number from 59% to 44% in the year 2011. So there's a sense of marginalization, or the Metis feel that the other groups, right, will outnumber the indigenous Metis group. They feel that the other tribal groups will outnumber. They will be in majority and Metis will be in minority. They have this fear. That's the reason they are requesting for ST status. I hope you understood it. But the other tribal groups are opposing this request of the Metis for ST status. Why? Because the moment you get ST status, right, you have representation in the state legislative assembly, in the parliament, in the government jobs, in the educational institutions. So the scheduled tribes, they get reservation in the assembly, parliament. So the other tribal groups fear that if Metis, who are in majority, if they get ST status, their representation in parliament, assembly, educational institutions and government jobs will increase. As of now, the Metis are only represented. Their representation is adequate. There is a decent representation of Metis in the assembly, or let's say in the government jobs. So the other tribal groups fear that in case ST status is given to Metis, the Metis will have more and more representation. They already have representation. The representation will only increase. That's the reason the other tribal groups are opposing this demand of Metis. And as the Metis and the other tribal groups have this threat of land rights, that is, they feel that their land rights will be taken away, this political dominance and identity, which means both these groups, they have this fear of land rights. They might lose their land rights, they might lose the political dominance, or maybe the identity of their community will be jeopardized or will be at risk. That's the reason there is growing violence in the state of Manipur. I hope in a nutshell you understood the reasons behind the violence in Manipur. Now, breakdown of constitutional machinery. What is constitutional machinery? Machine is a machine. Machinery, which means administration, which means the constitutional provisions that were applicable in the state of Manipur have or got affected or is breaking down, is collapsing, which means in short the administration is collapsing. See, what is Article 355? Article 355 says that it is the duty of the central government, union government. Article 355 states that it is a duty of the union government to protect the states from external aggression or internal disturbance, which means it is a duty of the central government to protect the states. Now, the violence in Manipur reflects the breakdown in law and order, which means the administration has collapsed. Why? Because the violence is increasing. Here, the union government has failed to protect the state because it is a duty of the union government, the central government. Then what is Article 356? If the president is of the opinion that the law and order of the state of Manipur has completely broken down, then the president under Article 356 will impose president's rule in the state, which means the state administration will come under the control of the central government. Now we have the state governments. If president's rule is imposed on Manipur, then the central government will completely control Manipur or administer, rather than control, they will administer the state of Manipur. Article 356. And it seems that given the way the law and order is breaking down the state of Manipur, it seems that president's rule can be imposed. See, the content is on the board. You can, I'm not taking or reading each and every line, right? Post that or post my explanation. You can pause the video and also read the content, or you also have the DNA notes for your reference. Chief Minister's loss of control. The Chief Minister of Manipur is requesting that Manipur state government should have more power with respect to security, which means the Chief Minister of Manipur is requesting for more power to manage the security situation in Manipur. It somehow reflects that the state has become completely dysfunctional, right? So this is another problem. I hope you understanding the meaning of breakdown of constitutional machinery. These points indicate how the constitutional machinery or administration is breaking down, right? Now, the continuous failure of the state administration. Now the state is failing to what? To address or manage the ethnic violence between Metis and the tribal groups. Then the state is failing to protect the tribal rights of the tribal people, and most importantly, the state is failing to maintain peace. Now the failure of state government is raising a question with respect to efficacy of the constitutional machinery, that is the administration of the state, which means the question is whether the state government, the administration, has the potential capability to manage the state or no. Has it the capability to bring peace or no? Here the questions are being raised about the efficacy of the state government. The concept of special provisions in Indian constitution, right? Now, see, First concept is asymmetric federalism. What is asymmetric federalism? See, asymmetric federalism, which means different regions of a country are ruled by or governed by different set of laws, which means one law is not applicable for each and every state, which means that based on the needs and demands of every state or for that matter region, we have different provisions or different laws for different regions of a country. This is known as asymmetrical federalism. First, let us try to understand what is federalism. Federalism, which means distribution of power between the central and the local governments. Which means in our country, the power is not in the hands of the central government only. The power is also given to the state governments, to the local governments, the panchayats and the municipalities. So, the distribution of power is referred to as federalism. Asymmetric, which means not all the states enjoy same powers, or not all the states are governed by same laws. There are some states, there are some regions where the laws are different. For example, Article 370. This Article 370 was pertaining to the former state of Jammu and Kashmir. Article 370 is an example of asymmetric federalism. Now the question is Jammu and Kashmir or was Jammu and Kashmir the only state that enjoyed a special status? No. We have Article 371 applicable for the entire northeastern states. We have Article 371, which means based on the peculiar or let's say unique social, political demand of the region, we have drafted different laws. We'll understand which are these different, let's say different demands. We'll understand it. So, Article 371 to Article 370C is applicable for the entire northeastern states. For the entire northeastern states. What is the purpose? Purpose of 370 or let's say 371C to protect the cultural identities. To protect the identity of the people, that is their language, their customs, their traditions, their art forms. Then to ensure equitable development and most importantly to give political autonomy, which means the tribal people. What do you mean by political autonomy? Which means the tribal people are given the rights to manage or regulate their own lifestyle. In some regards, the state government or parliament won't make any laws for them. They can manage and regulate their own living style or lifestyle or their own traditions and customs. This is Article 371 and 371 to C is applicable for the northeastern states. So, see, the purpose is, for example, when it comes to northeastern states, the purpose is that the external influence should not affect their traditional way of life. So, the reason why we gave this special recognition for the northeastern states is because the northeastern states, which is largely a tribal community, they feared that, or they were fearing that if we integrate with the Union of India, the mainstream culture would be imposed on these people. So, Indian government gave a guarantee to the tribal people that integrate into the Union of India and your customs, traditions will be protected. And these states were given constitutional protection that your language, your culture, traditions, your cultural identity will be protected by the constitution. This is the concept of asymmetrical federalism. See, given the diversity of our country, India is a land of rich diversity. We cannot have one law for all the people. That's the reason federalism became a compulsion. which means in order to meet the diverse needs of different sections of the population, for example, the tribals, we came up with this concept of asymmetrical federalism or Article 371, which is an example of asymmetrical federalism. Purpose? The purpose is to give them assurance that we won't impose our culture, or let's say our lifestyle on new people. We'll protect your tribal rights. That's the reason we gave them these special recognition. So examples of constitutional pragmatism, for example, or asymmetrical federalism is Sikkim. Now Sikkim was not a part of a country. It became a part of India only in the year 1975. 1975. Now when Sikkim became a part of our country, we promised the Bhutia Lepcha tribe that please integrate into Union of India and we will protect your culture by incorporating Article 371F. Again, an example of asymmetrical federalism, which means the representation of your community in the assembly and parliament will always be there. You will always get political rights, and this is promised by the constitution. Tripura, talking about Tripura, 6th schedule. Now see, the states that fall under 6th schedule, please remember, the states that fall under 6th schedule get the power to make law, the power to execute the laws, executive power, legislative powers, executive powers, the judicial powers, powers related to land. These are the benefits or political autonomy the states get who come under 6th schedule. We'll discuss which are the states that come under 6th schedule. There are 4 states. Of the 4 states, Tripura is one. Now, if you see, just like Manipur, Tripura was a state that has seen violence, that has experienced violence between different ethnic groups. It is because that we gave such protection under 6th schedule, Tripura was successful to restore peace and normalcy in the state of Tripura. Why? Because we gave them political autonomy. So these are the states that come under 6th schedule. Which are these states? Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Very, very important. Please learn all these 4 states. 4 states come under 6th schedule. And all these states have autonomous district council, ADC. It's like a parliament. It's like a state assembly. Now this ADC will make legislative, judicial and executive powers. And what is the purpose? The purpose of all, or the purpose of this ADC, Autonomous District Council, is to protect the tribal groups or protect their cultural identity, to promise them that we will not impose the lifestyle of mainstream people on you people. You are free to govern your life as per your own traditions and customs. We won't interfere in your lifestyle. Right? Now, let's try to understand what the Supreme Court has to say. See, this R.C. Podial case of 1993. Now, this is the name of a person who challenged Article 371F pertaining to the state of Sikkim. Now, this person said that this Bhutia Lepcha community, who are a minority, but if you look at the representation, let's say for example, in the state of Sikkim, there are, let's say out of 1000 people, there are 300 people who belong to this Bhutia Lepcha community. Bhutia Lepcha community. Which means, let's say for example, if the Sikkim Legislative Assembly has 10 members, the ideal scenario should be out of 10, 3 people should be from the Bhutia Lepcha community. But the fact is that these community are only represented. This is the word. disproportionate representation, which means the representation is more than it should be. This was challenged. So this person challenged that the representation of this committee is more. It is more, it must be, let's say, 5. And he said that this is not equal, or this goes against the principle of equality. But the Supreme Court, what did the Supreme Court say? So when Sikkim became a part of Union of India in the year 1975, we promised the community that we will protect your rights, we will protect your culture. Only once we gave them this assurance, they became a part of Union of India. Now this community is fearing that the Nepali speaking population might outnumber, or for that matter may dominate the political affairs, or let's say government jobs, or let's say education institutions. Who? The Nepali speaking people. They fear that Nepali speaking people might dominate Sikkim, and that's the reason through Article 371F, Bhutia Lepcha community is guaranteed that their representation will never get affected. And so the Supreme Court justified their poor representation. What the Supreme Court say? That historical compulsions, that is the integration of Sikkim in India, justify such inequality. Inequality that the Bhutia Lepcha community are less in number, but their representation is more. Same is the case with this tribal community in Tripura. Please read by your own. Got it? So, the point is that we are actually trying to accommodate diversity. The reason why we have this unequal provisions in our Indian constitution is to accommodate diversity. Accommodating diversity, what does it mean? It means that there are various communities in our country. Based on the requirement or based on the needs of different communities, we are actually helping them. We are helping them by providing certain provisions through which we guarantee them that their culture will be protected. Simple. Now see, coming back to Manipur, Article 371C. This Article 371C is given to the state of Manipur. Right? I told you Article 371 to C is for the northeastern states. So in Manipur, we have this hill area committee, and this hill area committee is composed of the elected representatives from the tribal areas of Manipur. But the power of this committee is limited. Why? Because the approval of this committee is not required when it comes to the governance of the people in tribal areas. So, whichever actions are to be taken in the tribal areas, their approval is not required, which means the power of this committee is limited. We discussed what is 6th schedule and the powers under 6th schedule. If you are not remembering, please go back and listen what is 6th schedule and the benefit under 6th schedule. Now, Manipur is not under 6th schedule, which means the protection that Manipur should have got is not given to Manipur, the political autonomy. So this is another problem. One, the power of hill area committee is limited. Second, Manipur is not under 6th schedule, right? And the tribals feel that their rights are not protected. The tribals of Manipur. And third is that Manipur Hill Areas Autonomous District Council. Right? Now, the council or this Autonomous District Council ADC in the state of Manipur, they do not have the strong veto power. Veto power, which means, let's say for example, the state government makes the law for the tribal areas. Now this ADC does not have the power to veto the power of the state government. Veto the power, that is to cancel the decision of the state government. For example, Nagaland and Tripura have strong veto power, which means, let's say for example, if the state government of Nagaland makes a law for the tribal people, and if the tribal people do not like it, they can reject it. But Manipur cannot, which means they have lack of veto power. So if you compare Manipur with other states, for example, Nagaland and Sikkim are given more protections under Article 371A and F. But the same power, yes, 371C, 371C governs the state of Manipur. But the powers are not the same. We are saying that we'll protect your culture, but the power given to the council is not the same. Tripura success. Tripura comes under 6th schedule. Now, it is because of the protection given to Tripura, Tripura was successful to eliminate the insurgency in the state of Tripura. Which means there is lack of similar protections in Manipur. Which means Manipur is not under 6th schedule, as well as the district councils in Manipur are not powerful. They are not powerful as they are powerful in the states of Nagaland and Sikkim. Are you getting my point? So what is the solution? The solution is we have to make sure that the constitutional protections are strengthened, which means here it is very important to balance the interests of different communities like the Metis, Kukis and Nagas, which means the district council should be given more power. Or the second point, incorporation of special provisions like 6th schedule. Manipur should be brought under 6th schedule, or for that matter the hill area committee of Manipur should be strengthened, which means they should be given more power. And what the judiciary has to say, the judiciary has always focused on flexibility and accommodation. The judiciary says that we are not rigid. India is a country of great diversity. So here it is very important that we have to be flexible and accommodative so as to ensure the tribal community that we are protecting your culture, right? And this all can be done by strengthening the concept of federalism. That is, what is federalism? Devolving power in the hands of local people. For example, Article 371. Giving power to the states, giving power to the local governments is nothing but federalism. So I hope you have understood the first article. First article talks about the Manipur crisis. We have discussed the different concepts under this particular topic. Asymmetrical federalism, right? Article 370, 371, 371C, 371F. And we understood the reasons why Manipur is undergoing or is witnessing ethnic clashes or ethnic violence, right? So this is the first topic. I hope you understood the first topic. If you do not understand any point in particular, I request you to please put your question in the comment box. I want to read your questions in the comment box. So make sure that if you're not understanding any point, you are messaging or putting your question in the comment box. So So the next topic, taxing industrial alcohol, right? Now under this topic, there are two things that you need to understand. One is 7th schedule. The other again comes the concept of federalism. Now the concept of federalism we have already discussed in the first topic, right? And this is important for GS paper 2, that is polity and governance. And in polity and governance we have this topic, the same topic as was for the first topic, the functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. Again, this topic pertains to the powers of the central government and the state government with respect to taxing industrial alcohol. So, this was a question asked in the year 2016. The Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any item in the state list in the national interest if a resolution to that effect is passed by. So, which type of majority is required is a question, right? So, what is a state list, concurrent list, central list? We'll discuss it now. Now, what is the context? The Supreme Court gave a judgment 8:1, which means that out of 9 judges, 8 judges had the same opinion, and one judge had a differing opinion. Now, what these 8 judges said, that the state legislature, the state assembly has the power to regulate industrial alcohol. Who has the power? The state government. Now, the question was whether the state government or the central government can regulate or manage industrial alcohol. What did the Supreme Court say? The Supreme Court said that the state legislature, the state assembly has the power to regulate industrial alcohol under entry 8 of state list. Entry 8 of state list, which includes intoxicating liquor. What is intoxicating? Which induces nasha, intoxication. Now, let us try to understand what is 7th schedule. We know what is federalism. We discussed it in the first topic. Now, the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, it divides the powers between the central government and the state government. For example, in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, we have the union list. Now, the topics, the subjects mentioned in the union list, only the parliament can make laws. For example, when it comes to defense, atomic energy and railways, only the parliament can make laws. When it comes to state list, only the state governments can make law. For example, police, public health and agriculture. Only the state governments can make law. With respect to concurrent list, both the parliament as well as the state assembly can make laws. For example, education, very, very important, and forests. So, the subjects under this union list, state list and concurrent list, with respect to union list, parliament, state list, state assembly, concurrent list, both parliament as well as the state assembly. Now, the entry 8 of the state list, what is it? Intoxicating liquor. Now, the entry 8 of the state list empowers the states, which means the state governments can regulate. Now, what do you mean by regulate? What do you mean by regulate? Regulation, which means production, sale and possession. Regulation, that is production, sale, or let's say taxing or keeping it, is possession. Who has the power? The state government. Now, entry 8 of the state list. What is entry 52 of the union list? It allows the parliament to control industries deemed of national importance. So, let us try to understand how a subject is conflicting between parliament and the state assembly. 52 of the union list, what it says, that the industries that are important for our country, who can control it or who can regulate it? The center. The entry 8 of the state list, the entry 8 of the state list allows the states to regulate industries or intoxicating liquor industries. But here it's saying that the industry is important for nation, the central government will regulate it. Let's say, for example, there's a liquor factory in, let's say, industrial liquor factory in the state of Maharashtra. And the central government says that this industry is important for our country, national importance, which means the central government will regulate it or control it. But entry it also allows the states, which means the central government can at any point of time say any of the industry is important for nation and will bring it under their control. So what is the core of the dispute? That whether industrial alcohol comes under state government or central government. State government under intoxicating liquor, which is in entry 8, or it should be exclusively regulated by the center as industry of national interest. So the industrial alcohol, whether it should be under the state government's jurisdiction or the central government's jurisdiction, was the debate, was the core issue. But now what the Supreme Court said? The Supreme Court said that 8-1 majority judgment said that when it comes to industrial alcohol, the state governments have the legislative competence to make laws. Who has the power? Who has the power? The state list is in state list, which means that here see the majority view, that is 8 judges expanded the interpretation of intoxicating liquor to include substances like rectified spirit, extra neutral alcohol and denatured spirit. So what did the Supreme Court say? That when it comes to intoxicating liquor or industrial alcohol, it comes under the state list, which means state governments have the legislative competence with respect to industrial alcohol. Who has the power? States. The first question was whether it comes under center or whether it comes under states. What the Supreme Court say? That it comes under the state government. See, there are two types of liquor. One is industrial liquor. The second one is, portable liquor. Industrial liquor is manufactured or is used in the manufacturing industry. It is used for industrial purpose for the sake of manufacture. Portable liquor is for the consumption. The common people drink alcohol. So portable alcohol is the alcohol that common people drink. Industrial alcohol is for the industrial purpose. Right. So the portable liquor, yes, the state governments control it. But when it comes to industrial liquor, the central government thought that we have the power to regulate industrial liquor. But what the Supreme Court said, even the industrial liquor comes under the state government. Now, why did the Supreme Court say that states have the power to regulate industrial liquor? First, see, the reason why Supreme Court said that industrial liquor comes under the state government because the industrial liquor can be misused for public consumption. And public health, when it comes to public health is under state list. I hope you remember. Public health, when it comes to police or public health, it comes under state list. So the Supreme Court said that people can misuse the industrial liquor for human consumption. And if industrial liquor is misused, it can impact or affect public health. That's the reason the Supreme Court said that yes, the state governments have the power to regulate the industrial liquor, as the misuse of industrial liquor can affect public health, and public health is a state list. So entry 8 includes both consumable as well as industrial alcohol. As I discussed, consumable is the one people drink. Industrial is for the sake of manufacture. which means the judgment said that Parliament's power under entry 52 to regulating industries of national importance cannot occupy the entire field of industry regulation. The central government, yes, they can regulate the industries, but they do not have a blanket power. With respect to industrial alcohol, the state governments have the power. So, the implication or the impact of this judgment is that it is strengthening federalism, which means what is federalism? The distribution of power between the central government and the state government. This decision of the Supreme Court is strengthening federalism, which means it is making sure that the power of the state government is not being taken away by the central government. See, whichever party comes to power at the center, they will try to keep power and control in their hands. They'll try to snatch away the power of the state governments. But this decision of the Supreme Court is very, very important to maintain the balance between the power of the parliament and the state government. Right? So, you can read by your own. So, the importance is that the state governments are no less than the central government. Both are important, which means here by this judgment, the Supreme Court or the courts of a country can ensure that there are sufficient checks and balances to ensure Parliament is not misusing or let's say snatching away the power of the state governments. Right? So, this decision is very, very important for ensuring that states retain their power under the constitution of a country, right? And this judgment will also serve as a precedent or example. So there are many cases involving the dispute between the center and the states. So this decision will serve as an example for the central government as well as the state governments, that is both have their individual or respective powers. Neither the parliament should encroach on the state powers and neither the state government should encroach on the powers of the parliament. Right? I hope you have understood the second article. Right? The third article is on Kala Azar. Any questions, any doubts, please feel free to ask questions in the comment box. Okay, so third topic, we'll understand about Kala Azar, and this is important for both prelims as well as mains. In mains, this topic can be aligned under science and technology, right? So again, if you see, a question was asked on Zika virus disease in the year 2017. So question on Kala Azar can also be expected in the UPSC examination. Now, what is the context? The context is that India has done a remarkable job in spreading or in preventing the spread of Kala Azar. So back then India was contributing significantly in the overall Kala Azar diseases in the world. But given the efforts of the government of India, India has done a remarkable job in reducing the number of people who are affected by the Kala Azar disease. Now for 2 consecutive years, the numbers have fallen to below 1 per 10,000. The number is below 1 per 10,000 and this number is for 2 consecutive years. So this is a remarkable achievement India has achieved. First and foremost, what is Kala Azar? This will be asked in the UPSC examination, right? Now, Kala Azar, also known as visceral leishmaniasis. Again, this term is very difficult, so I am not able to pronounce it. Not important. But important is to remember that it is a neglected tropical disease. It is a tropical disease. It is, this disease is endemic in the tropical region. It's an infectious disease that primarily affects the poor populations. Now, this is a result of what? Because of unhygienic places. The places which are not clean, where there is no healthcare facility, where the sanitation is poor, these regions are the epicenter of the Kala Azar disease, which means it affects majorly the poor people. Why? Because the poor people, where do they stay or where do they live? They live in the slums, right? They live in the slums and or let's say by the road streets, and these places are not clean, they are not hygienic, right? Now, despite affecting the lives of people and despite affecting the health of people, the world is not focusing to eradicate this disease. So if you compare with tuberculosis, HIV, the world is working very hard to eliminate these diseases. But despite the fact that Kala Azar is impacting public health, this disease is receiving less attention from the world. And this disease, Kala Azar disease, is caused by protozoa parasite. It is a disease caused by a parasite, which means it is important to remember that this is not caused by bacteria or virus or fungi. So a question can be asked, Kala Azar disease is caused by the bacteria or some name of bacteria? No, it is not caused by bacteria. It is caused by parasite. And what is parasite? They are small microorganisms that depend on other living beings, or they feed on other living beings. Transmission. Now, this disease spreads when infected sandflies bite humans, which means the parasites in the sandflies, they are transmitted to human beings when the sandflies bite human beings, right? Which means again parasites, because of parasites in these sandflies, they are transferred to human beings. So again, this point is very important. Symptoms: fevers, weight loss, swelling of the spleen and liver, and severe anemia, right? So these are the symptoms. See, all these points are very important for your prelims. You'll be given a question like we saw with respect to Zika virus. They'll give you 2 statements, 3 statements, and they'll ask you which of the following statements is correct. And if you do not treat it, it will completely affect your immune system. And what is the treatment? The treatment is drugs like sodium stibogluconate and meglumine antimonate. So these are the drugs. Please remember the names of these drugs. But the WHO recommends combination therapies of these drugs. So remember these 2 drugs, right? Now, if you see that in the 2000s, India contributed a large population of the global Kala Azar cases. So, of all the cases in the world, India contributed heavily in the 2000s. But then, if you see the recent few years, right, especially in the year 2023, India reported this many cases and 4 deaths. Talking about 2024, the country has registered 339 cases and only 1 death, which means now of the overall diseases relating to Kala Azar, India is a country who has taken major steps to reduce or eliminate the Kala Azar disease by, running health campaigns, by improving sanitation, by also making sure that poor people, receive healthcare facilities, right? So by working on these things, the government has ensured that India's contribution in the overall Kala Azar disease comes down, right? And has now come down. So this is a national Kala Azar elimination program undertaken by the government of India, which was, started in the year 2002. What is the purpose? That is to completely eliminate or eradicate Kala Azar disease by the year 10, or let's say it was revised further to 2015. For this, India signed an agreement with two countries, Bangladesh and Nepal. That is, with the efforts of these countries, India has made active efforts to eliminate Kala Azar disease. And for this, India has run a program at the national level. And what is that program? National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, right? So all the programs that we run under this Kala Azar or to eliminate Kala Azar is, or it comes under this National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, and this program is under National Health Mission. So National Health Mission is the umbrella program or umbrella mission, and under this we have the National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. All these points are very important for your prelims examination. So make sure you know each and every point. You don't have to mug it up. You just have to revise it 3 times, 4 times, or let's say before your examination. Just going through this point will help you to remember these points, right? Now students, it is time to discuss few questions. So make sure that when you read a question, you pause the video, comment the answer in the comment box, right? So that you understand if you have understood the topics that we have discussed. Let's start with the first question. The 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution divides the legislative powers between the Union and the states. Regarding the regulation of industrial alcohol, which of the following statements are correct? First statement, the state list in the 7th schedule gives states the power to regulate intoxicating liquors, which includes industrial alcohol. The second statement, Union list allows the parliament to regulate industries that are declared to be of national importance, including industrial alcohol. Third, the concurrent list provides for both the center and the states to regulate industrial alcohol simultaneously. See, the first list, yes, it gives states the power to regulate intoxicating liquors as per the recent Supreme Court judgment, right? 8:1. The Union list allows Parliament to regulate industries declared to be of national importance. Yes. Based on this provision, the Parliament was trying to regulate industrial alcohol, but the Supreme Court said the states have the power. Now, the concurrent list does not explicitly mention about this term industrial alcohol. So, this statement is incorrect. Statement 1 and 2, that is option A, is the correct answer for question number 1. Right? Again, pause the video and try to attempt the question in the comment box. What is Kala Azar and what are its key characteristics? First, a viral disease. Is it a viral disease? No. We discussed. Is it a neglected tropical disease caused by parasite? Yes. Transmitted by sandflies, characterized by irregular fevers and swelling of liver and spleen? Yes. It's not a bacterial infection. It's not a fungal infection. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Option B is the correct answer for question number 2. Now, mains practice question. What is the question? The escalating violence in Manipur has exposed the fragility of constitutional mechanisms in managing diversity and reconciling competing ethnic interests. Critically examine the role of special provisions in the Indian Constitution in addressing such identity-based conflicts. Highlight the relevance of judicial interpretations and suggest constitutional solutions to the crisis. It's a big question, right? Don't worry. Trust me if you have understood the question. The framing of the question is complicated. Yes, I understand. But if you read it twice, thrice, please read it twice, thrice. It's not as difficult question as you might feel, because we have covered each and every dimension with respect to this question in the analysis, the first topic. So let's break down the question. The escalating violence in Manipur, right, has exposed the fragility of constitutional mechanisms, which means the constitutional provisions meant for the state of Manipur has been failed. That's the reason the violence is escalating. And the constitutional provision, which constitutional provision? Article 371. Yes. See, so here we have to examine the role of special provisions like Article 371C in addressing such conflict. And then you have to also mention the judicial interpretation, that is the judicial case. Very, very simple question if you read it twice and thrice. So in the introduction, mention about the Manipur crisis in brief, right? What is Manipur crisis? The conflict between the Meiteis and Kukis and Nagas, and then mention how the failure of constitutional machinery is leading to or is resulting in escalation of violence in the state of Manipur. Introduction. Now start by mentioning these special provisions. For example, the Article 371C. Discuss the concept of asymmetrical federalism. Discuss about the hill area community. Discuss about the autonomous district council. Discuss about the failure of mentioning or adding Manipur in the 6th schedule. So all these dimensions are very, very important to mention the exam. Then you also have to mention the judicial interpretation, that is this particular case with respect to the seat of Sikkim. And then, so first you mention the constitutional provisions, how the failure of constitutional provisions led to the violence in the state of Manipur, right? That is the hill area committee not having veto power, or let's say the people, the tribal people in Manipur not having the legislative, executive and judicial powers, and then try to back this with this particular judgment. And then finally in the conclusion, you have to mention the importance of constitutional provisions, or by incorporating special provisions like the 6th schedule or strengthening the hill area committee. So introduction, first the failure of constitutional machinery, which constitutional provisions mention that, right? Then you can also compare with other states like Tripura, which has been successful in quelling violence and restoring peace and normalcy. Then the next part, mention about the judicial interpretation, judicial case, and then in the conclusion mention that how strengthening the constitutional provision is very, very important to restore peace and normalcy in the state of Manipur. This is how you conclude the answer. Right, students, I hope I've addressed each and every point. I hope you understood all the 3 topics that we have discussed for the day. Make sure that you're revising all these 3 topics. Make sure you're making your own notes. In case you find difficulty in making notes, you have the DNA notes for your reference. And make sure you hold command over all the topics that we cover every day, so that it will help you to get really good marks in the UPSC mains answer, right? So on this note, let's call it a wrap for today's DNA session. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure that you're liking, subscribing and following Narayana IAS. Thank you so much.